It seems like everybody today wants a track saw. And why wouldn't you? It allows you to cut and manage sheet goods like a mill shop does, minus the panel saw. A track saw, it's much more than a circular saw with a rip guide. I know a lot of guys comment on stuff like that online, but it's designed to be a smooth and precise plunge cutting saw. Track saws make long, precise cuts faster and better than circular saws. They're lighter, they're faster to set up, and more portable than a table saw. And we feel that a track saw is a perfect addition for a carpenter, contractor, or woodworker looking to be more precise and accurate in their cutting and finished carpentry activities. We just took a look at Makita's brand new 18 volt X2. It's their 36 volt LXT brushless, cordless, plunge circular saw. It's a 6.5 inch blade. It's XPS01 is the model number. This saw is designed to run off two 18 volt batteries, so you get that 36 volts of corded performance in a cordless saw. We really like that Makita achieves this power while still staying in that 18 volt platform. That's huge. And with the exception of the batteries, you might ask yourself, what's the difference between the corded track saw that Makita came out with in 2008 and today's cordless version? Well, the simple answer is nothing. They're identical in features and accessories. So if you're transitioning from corded to cordless, it's going to be seamless. All the accessories are going to work. The Makita cordless track saw runs off of two 18 volt batteries, and they draw power from both of them at the same time. It will not operate on one battery. People ask that question a lot. As far as the two batteries go, Makita feels strongly about staying in that 18 volt platform, and they feel that if they can accomplish their cutting task or the tool task with one battery, they will. When the task requires high power, more speed, or more runtime, that's when they go with the X2, the two batteries, 36 volt platform, or not platform, but approach. The Makita cordless track saw has a brushless motor and variable speed dial control with 5 settings. The settings range from 2,500 to 6,300 RPMs, and that allows you to basically match the speed to your application, your cut application. This track saw has a cut capacity of 2 3/16 of an inch at 90, and when you flip it to 45 degrees, it's 1 9/16 of an inch. The blade, the way it's set up, it also allows you to be able to cut 11/16 inches from the wall, and it will bevel minus 1 degree all the way up to 48 degrees with positive stops at 22.5 and 45. To set the saw to minus 1 degree, you just need to loosen the regular bevel screws like you would normally do, and then there are 2 little levers that you need to press under the saw and at the saw's base plate. Once you depress them, they stay in. You can then tilt the saw to minus 1 degree before tightening the bevel set. To do the 48 degree bevel, you do the same procedure, except there's a black lever that you flip up. It says 48 on it. You flip that up, and that will allow you to go past the 45 to the 48 degrees. It's a nice option to be able to make those off cuts a little bit. This saw has a knob right next to the front bevel knob also that lets you set to a 22.5 degree positive stop, which is really nice. It lets you to hit that bevel quickly and positively. It's funny, with track saws, most guys don't care about line of sight. Line of sight comes into play when you're using it off of the track, right? The front edge of the saw has detents. It's one at 90 and one at 45 degrees for cutting. And so if you're using it off the track, but when on the track, that's the best part of using a track saw. It's speed and precision. It just follows the track. All you really do is you align your track on your marks and you're ready to cut. There's a plastic edge that basically allows you to precisely line up your blade where it will cut, and you just follow it. There's no test cuts, there's no double checking, there's no guesswork with a track saw. This saw has automatic speed change technology, which automatically adjusts the cutting speed and torque during a cut for consistent cutting purposes and performance under load. And there's a mode indicator light. It's right next to the battery gauge, the second battery. It's battery number 2. This light will show solid green when the saw is in high torque mode. If the tool is overloaded, it will blink green if you run it too much or too hot. When the workload is low, the tool will run in high speed for a quicker cutting application. And when the workload is high, the tool will run in high torque mode and more powerful cutting, which is nice. It automatically does this. There is a soft start motor and an electric brake, which we absolutely love for safety. Located near the rear handle of the tool, near the gear housing, is a quick stop button. And that button allows the tool to quickly set a setting for 2 to 3 millimeter depth scoring cut. And you need to do this on the guardrail, obviously, guide rail. It's quick, it's easy, you push the button in and you can activate it, and the scoring feature basically just is going to allow you to make a clean and splinter-free cut in expensive wood or materials. This saw is about 13 5/8 inches long, 11.2 pounds with the batteries included. When attached to the track, this thing just glides like it's been greased. It's really smooth. And at first glance, you might wonder what the black slide lever is on the base and what that's for. I had to kind of figure it out. The lever, when activated, actually prevents the saw from tipping out of the track. And it's brilliant, and it works great when you're bevel cutting. And that's basically gonna keep the saw from falling, getting damaging your woodwork, and also gives you a second free hand. There are 2 adjustments on the base to allow the slide to function and avoid slop and clatter in the slide, and you can kind of guide it in. Dust collection, that's a trend that's not going away, and improving our health in the shop and on the job site is important, and Makita says they actually made a few changes to the tool to be a little bit more efficient than their corded version. This saw's dust port swivels. It measures approximately 1 3/8 inches on the inside diameter, 1 3/4 on the outside diameter. Unfortunately, it does not come with a dust bag. You're gonna have to purchase that, after the fact. As far as cost goes, the tool's gonna be a bare tool of $349, and as a kit, it's gonna be $499, and that comes with a 55-inch track, and that comes with 2 5-amp-hour batteries. It comes with a dual port charger, obviously the saw, and 2 interlocking cases, one for the saw and a smaller one for the charger and batteries. Accessories like the guide rails, the 55-inch guide rail is $89 separately, and the 118-inch is $239. Also, one thing I'll note is Makita is launching a brand new line of blades, 7 in total, that will fit this saw. And it's designed for multiple materials. That's kind of exciting. They're not out yet. Pretty exciting. Let's talk about runtime on the track saw. So we tested the saw for runtime. I wanted to simulate a real carpentry application for this runtime testing. I chose to rip 3/4 inch plywood. I didn't go with expensive plywood, but it's what most people cut. Most people are not framing with track saws. We're not cutting framing lumber. So I set up the 55-inch rip to make 45-inch rips on the 55-inch guide to make 48-inch rips. And I used a stock blade. It's a quality blade, well balanced, and it makes precision cuts. I set the saw blade just below the bottom edge of the wood, and I used 2 fresh, brand new 5.0 amp-hour batteries. And I followed this sequence because all the way through until I could not finish a cut. I basically would rip the plywood, then I would reset the fence, and I repeat that 4 times. So 5 rips total. I then let the tool rest for about a minute, a little more. I repeated that circuit for 20 rips total, and then I let the saw rest for 10 minutes and then repeated. And I did that sequence all the way through. The reason for that is I wanted to avoid heat buildup in the battery as well as the brushless motor. I also wanted to simulate a real life application for carpentry. This test actually was already kind of aggressive for a track saw, and I can't think of actually one job site situation where I would just rip and rip and rip and rip with a track saw. You don't use it like that. As far as runtime goes though, we made 104 rips. That's 416 feet in 3/4 plywood. That's impressive. Using the saw. I should mention that the saw actually came, the saw base plate and blade were square out of the box. No adjustment was needed, either at 45 degrees or at 90. It was perfect. There is adjustments if you need to make it. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. I believe in that. The very first time that I used the saw out of the box, I used it to cut 1/2-inch birch plywood, and I said to myself immediately after making the first cut, wow, this thing is smooth and powerful. In the shop, I used a Makita cordless track saw to size down some expensive and cumbersome sheet goods. I was building a bookcase, small bookcase project. I find it easier than trying to feed and wrestle huge 4x8 sheets across my table saw. In the past, before track saws, I would use a circle saw. I would rough cut the plywood, and then I would make the finish cuts on a table saw, my cabinet saw. With a track saw, you can skip that second cut. The first cuts on a track saw will be your final cuts. They will be straight, smooth, and accurate as a table saw. If you use this saw correctly, you will see that it cuts on par with a cabinet table saw. The Makita saw performed exceptionally well, both runtime testing and here in the shop. As far as improvements, there's not a lot to dislike about this saw. There really isn't. We'd like to see the saw updated with a riving knife. I know Makita's heard this before with their quoted version. Currently, Makita offers no real kickback mitigation besides track guidance. The depth of cut scale is in metric. Imperial measurements would be a welcomed addition. And lastly, I was kind of bummed out when my Makita VC4710 HEPA vac didn't fit the track saw port, the dust port. So the vac hose inside diameter is 1.5 inches approximately, and the track saw dust port outside diameter is 1.75 inches. So in order to make the dust collection in the shop work, I'd use a DeWalt adapter to do that. Shame, right? I'd use DeWalt from Makita. Other than that, it performed great. The Makita cordless track saw, the XPS01, is now part of Makita's expanding 18-volt LXT system. They've got over 100 tools when you think about this. Cordless is now becoming the norm, and this track saw is well worth the investment. The saw has a super smooth plunge, a powerful motor allowing it to make smooth cuts, and it just slides, it glides on the track. Really nice. We're extremely impressed with the ease of use, solid, proven design, and great price. The saw is a purchase that you can be sure of, and it's a quality track saw with plenty of power to get the job done. I'm Rob Robillard. If you enjoyed this review, please click that subscribe button below, and we'll see you next time. Take care.